Privileged access is powerful, so PAM keeps it controlled. In this module, we'll look at how sessions are brokered through a secure proxy, how credentials stay hidden, and how privileged activity can be recorded, monitored, alerted on, or terminated when needed. Password vaulting answers an important question. How do we protect privileged credentials? Privileged session management answers the next one. What happens after access is approved? Instead of giving the password to the user, PSM brokers the connection to the server, database, or application. The user can perform authorized work while the credential remains hidden. At the same time, the session can be recorded, monitored in real time, and checked against policy. That gives security teams visibility, evidence, and a faster way to respond when behavior looks risky. In short, PSM turns privileged access from a blind trust event into a controlled, observable activity. Privileged session management places a control point between users and sensitive systems. Users authenticate to PAM, rather than directly to servers, databases, cloud platforms, or network devices. After approval, the PAM proxy opens the privileged connection on the user's behalf. The vault supplies the required password or key, but it is injected into the session instead of revealed. That distinction is important. Vaulting controls who can use credentials. Session management controls and records what happens during use. Because traffic flows through the proxy, security teams can monitor activity, capture audit evidence, terminate risky sessions, and keep target systems reachable only through a governed path. With session brokering, an administrator does not open a direct privileged path to a Windows server. They start from the PAM portal, or sometimes from a native RDP client, and the connection is routed through the PAM platform. PAM authenticates the user, checks policy, retrieves the correct account secret, and injects it into the RDP session. The password or key is never exposed. From there, the broker can record activity and enforce controls, such as blocking clipboard use, drive mapping, file transfer, or copy and paste. To the target, this is a controlled PAM-originated session, not unmanaged administrator access. For Unix and Linux administration, PAM acts as an SSH broker between the user and the target system. The admin may start from a web console, an SSH proxy, or a native client integration, but the connection is checked before it reaches the server. The user does not need to see a root password or private key. Instead, PAM retrieves the managed credential or SSH key, opens the session, and applies policy in real time. Risky commands can be blocked or flagged, and session history is captured with user identity, timestamps, and target details. The result is privileged shell access that remains secure, controlled, and auditable. The same brokering model extends beyond servers into the tools administrators use every day: web portals, databases, network devices, and custom applications. The administrator signs in once, and PAM becomes the controlled path to the target system. Before access is granted, it authenticates the user, checks authorization, and applies policy. During the session, it can monitor activity, record actions, and preserve an audit trail with source identity, timestamps, and target details. The design principle is consistency. Whether the session is a browser, SQL console, device terminal, or application tool, credentials stay protected, visibility stays centralized, and privileged access is governed the same way. Think of privileged access as a managed lifecycle, not a one-time login. It begins with a request that is checked against policy, identity, business need, and time limits. Once approved, the PAM platform releases access in a controlled way, often just in time, so standing privilege is minimized. The user then launches the session through the broker instead of connecting directly to the target. During the session, activity can be monitored, recorded, and analyzed for risky behavior. When the work is complete, access is closed, credentials are rotated if needed, and session evidence can be reviewed for audit and improvement. Privileged access does not end when the session launches. The activity itself becomes evidence. Depending on the connection type, PAM can capture screen video, keystrokes, commands, and audit metadata such as user, target system, time, ticket, and policy context. These records are stored centrally, so they cannot be casually altered or lost on an endpoint. That evidence supports three outcomes. Investigators can reconstruct what happened, auditors can verify that controls were followed, and the organization can hold users accountable for high-risk actions. Recording should be risk-based, but for sensitive access, it is often essential. Recording is most useful when investigators can find and use it quickly. A mature PAM platform turns privileged sessions from raw footage into searchable evidence. Teams can filter by user, target, protocol, ticket, time, or even commands, then jump directly to the moment that matters instead of replaying an entire session. Playback provides context, while captured metadata links activity to approvals and policies. The strongest value comes from correlation. When session evidence connects with SIM, ITSM, EDR, and identity logs, investigations move faster. Compliance proof is stronger, and accountability becomes much harder to dispute. Live monitoring turns privileged access from a historical record into an active control. When administrators connect through RDP, SSH, web consoles, or database tools, security teams can observe sessions as they happen, not hours later. That visibility matters most for high-risk actions, unusual commands, access to sensitive systems, or behavior that does not match the approved ticket. Authorized reviewers can step in, document what they see, or terminate a session if policy allows. The goal is not to watch everyone constantly. It is to provide operational oversight for sensitive work, so misuse can be detected before it becomes damage. Live monitoring becomes even more valuable when it can recognize dangerous behavior while the session is still active. A PAM platform can inspect commands, database queries, user behavior, and risk context, then compare that activity against policy and analytics. Actions like dumping credentials, disabling logs, creating backdoor accounts, or running destructive commands should trigger immediate attention. The goal is not to alert on every unusual keystroke. It is to separate meaningful risk from noise and notify the right channel, such as the SOC, email, chat, or workflow systems. That gives teams a chance to intervene before a privileged session causes serious damage. When PAM detects dangerous behavior in a live privileged session, the response should be fast and proportional. The platform can terminate the session automatically for critical violations or allow an administrator to intervene manually when context matters. Containment should not stop at disconnection. Exposed credentials may need to be rotated, suspicious accounts disabled, tickets escalated, and the SOC notified so investigation starts immediately. The key design choice is policy tuning. Reserve automatic termination for actions with clear risk, and use alerts or approval workflows where false positives could disrupt legitimate operations. This keeps control strong without creating unnecessary outages. Effective session management is not only about recording activity. It is about operating a service people can trust during real incidents. Storage and retention define how long evidence remains useful, while compression and encryption help control cost and exposure. Privacy notices set expectations for users and regulators. High availability keeps monitoring available when infrastructure fails or demand spikes. Integrations connect session data to SIM, IT workflows, MFA, identity governance, and endpoint security. Administrative usability also matters. If analysts cannot search sessions, tune policies, review reports, and respond to alerts quickly, the control will fail operationally, even if it is technically strong. The key takeaway is that privileged session management turns PAM into an active control point. It brokers access across channels, reduces credential exposure, records activity, detects risky behavior, supports response, and creates evidence for accountability. As you move forward, connect these capabilities to the broader PAM program, including privileged workstations, SSH keys, secrets management, compliance, and governance.